And in the meantime, I wanted to welcome you. And if you are joining us today, you are joining the Blockchain in Aviation webinar. And this is part 3 in a 3-part series. And we did it that way so that we give you some initial information and some lead in to the webinar. And I'm hoping that you'll get some really good information from this webinar today. And we'll be starting in just a minute as soon as all the platforms, all get spooled up and everybody gets going. So I've had some people out there asking for a link to the webinar, and I'm hoping that that they actually got it. And I'm going to quickly make a couple of comments in LinkedIn to help people out, because it looks like maybe a few people are still looking for the webinar, but it looks like it's live on the page right now. I'm just going to comment in the group that it's live. We're live on LinkedIn and YouTube as well. So we also have it live right now, and we're going to get started here. So I apologize for the administrative stuff here, but we had so many people that wanted to watch that we're making certain that everybody can see it. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, listen, I wanted to let all of you know that we're very excited to bring to you this live webinar today on blockchain in aviation. And I coined it with something that hopefully would get people's attention. Does it even matter? All right, well, we believe that it matters, and we're going to talk to you about why it does. Over the last 3 weeks, over the last 2 weeks, we've actually had 2 prior webinars where we focused on what is blockchain and how is it being used in the industry. And today we're going to get down into some more details, with regard to that. So we'll just go ahead and kick off with our first slide, and I'll give you a little glimpse on what it is that you'll be able to see in the webinar today, a little bit of the agenda. Before I turn it over, we'll get Karen to flip that slide. There we go. Excellent. Now introduce our panelists in just a minute here. All right. So first of all, I wanted to let you know that, that we're going to talk a little bit about who should attend this webinar, a little bit about Real Variable. We're going to talk about blockchain and why focus on it. We're going to give a couple of use cases that have to do with blockchain and how it applies to digital twins, warranty management, and some other use cases in aviation. But it's the things that people have asked about. And so what I promised you I would do here at the very beginning is I would introduce our panelists. And down on the screen on the right, we have LV. Welcome, LV. You've been sitting patiently. I'm really glad to have you here. And up on the top, we have Kiran Prakash. But let me start with LV and say, LV, tell us who you are and the company you're with and what you do at that company.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having us here. A warm welcome to everybody who is attending this webinar. I'm LV. I'm the co-founder and the Chief Technology Officer at Real Variable. We believe in multi-party collaboration in the supply chain space. And for the last 4 years, we have been working in this space with different organizations where we saw the value. And I look forward to sharing more of my experiences and about the technology during this discussion.
Excellent. And the reason I bring people on like this is because of LV's background as the Chief Technology Officer and understanding of how to actually take blockchain and apply it in the industry. That's the important part. Hey, LV, just as a quick side note before I keep moving here, is that what got you interested in blockchain? Why was it something that caught your attention?
And 4.5 years ago, the founders, 4 or 5 founders, we sat together. We were looking at, what is the next big thing. Data is, the next big oil, in the technology space. That is what, we all believed in. But then, where do you focus on it? So we looked at digital trust. So to be able to provide the digital trust, there is a gap in multi-party collaboration, solutions. So that is how we got into blockchain, where everybody was running behind cryptos. We saw the underlying beautiful technology of distributed ledger and decentralized decision making. That is what got us into blockchain now.
Awesome. And the fact that it's being used in many industries right now, that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. So let me jump over to Kiran then. Kiran, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Kiran, who are you and what brings you to our webinar today as a co-host?
Hi, Mark. Good morning. Very warm welcome to everybody who is viewing this webinar. I am Kiran Prakash. I am an AVP at Real Variable. I have been with the organization for the last 1 year. I take care of the strategic business accounts and new business acquisitions across various verticals, including aviation. I myself come with supply chain background with almost 4 to 5 years in the aviation industry itself. And coupled with the fact that I am also very keen on blockchain technology, that brings me at a point where I can add value to both the industry from a technology standpoint.
Excellent, thank you. And Kiran, I understand that you do have some background in blockchain and you have some certifications in blockchain, and you've also been involved in the application of that. How does somebody get a certification in blockchain? What's that all about?
Yeah, so I personally have done blockchain fundamental certification, and also there are various technology platforms in blockchain. So you have Hyperledger, you have Ethereum, Quorum, there are some 5, 6 major platforms on which there are different certification programs which are running. So anybody can choose any certification program which is available in the internet. I chose one of the certification which helps me understand the technology better and apply it to various industries, including aviation, to name a few.
Okay, perfect. Well, the reason I wanted to do a brief introduction to those of you watching today is I want you to understand the expertise that we had on the panel, that are going to be able to help us understand blockchain. So Kiran, if we'll just flip to the next slide real quick. Let me just tell you that I know many times people are asking is that what am I going to get out of this webinar? Why should I be here? Well, let me just tell you real quick is that we designed this webinar, this series of broadcasts and webinars to be able to address digital innovation and how is it impacting supply chain? How is it impacting maintenance? Possible warranty optimization. We've designed it so we can speak to technology leaders, people that are innovators, or people that are leading organizations. Specifically, we've seen some value in speaking with aircraft and engine OEMs, with parts suppliers within the industry, airlines, helicopter operators, maintenance providers, lessors, and also to the aviation technology enthusiast. All right. So I guess I would put myself in that category. I want you all to know is that I am not an expert in blockchain. I like to bring together experts and have conversations about things which can make a difference and help aviation to move forward and be successful. That's why I brought these guys together. So where we're going to go from here is we're going to kick off the information that you're looking for, and we're going to turn it over to LV. As the Chief Technology Officer of Real Variable, he wants to start us out with giving us some information about Real Variable and about blockchain itself. So LV, let's go ahead and turn it over to you going forward.
Yes, Kiran, can you bring up the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Great. So Real Variable, we have been working since 2017. We are set up in US as well as India. And most of the development happens in India, in Hyderabad. What we have been focusing on is we have been focusing on creating the supply chain enterprise solution where we are creating multi-party collaboration. We saw the need with the data becoming the compute, the bandwidth, all of them becoming affordable. There is a space and there is a need for multi-party collaborations in the digital transformation process. So the typical ERPs in any organization address the collaboration between the tier 1 partners, whether it be the customer, whether it be the vendor. But with the distributed nature of businesses today, where many operations happening, across multiple geographies, across multiple places, contract manufacturing, and to say whatnot, in terms of 3 levels and 4 levels deep value chain that is bringing in, we see a definite need for the multi-party collaboration solution beyond the tier 1 partners. So that is where the solutions like blockchain come in. So far we have been very proud with, and we are successful in terms of saying that we are able to run 5 private chains which are still live. We have about 30 plus blockchain engineers working as part of Real Variable. We started small. We grew the skill, we trained the resources internally, and then we imparted the knowledge from our experiences. We are currently hosting about 60 plus nodes. We will talk about what a node is about in a few minutes. About 200 plus individual party ledgers across different organizations that are being maintained. More than 600,000 plus events have been captured so far. About 1 million plus parts, the units. I'm not talking about the SKUs. It's the units. About 1 million plus units have been are being tracked, every quarter using our solutions. And we also have the hybrid networks that we are working on. The way that we work is instead of creating the consulting organization, we created a product organization. We created a platform. So our platform, which we call it as RealWare, is a near zero code platform. So literally anybody can code. You need to have the basic understanding of blockchain network to be able to launch the network. The choice of blockchain network doesn't really matter. If an organization has a certain preference, which we talk in the next slides, we will still be able to cater to that. So we can say that the platform is agnostic of the technology. And a business analyst with a bit of understanding of technology would be able to, create and configure their own use case, with our help. We have scaled the platform to be able to have about 4,500 concurrent transactions per second. One of the things that we see in the blockchain space, the basic issue that people talk about is the transaction processing or throughput per second. But we are able to get to about 4,500 transactions, which is reasonably good, in the multi-party collaboration on the supply chain. And we have validated compared to the normal use case execution time on blockchain, using our platform, using our product, the deck, the time to market and the time to roll out is about 1/3 of what it normally happens. So this is a brief introduction about Real Variable and why we call ourselves a supply chain enterprise blockchain tech company.
Yeah, LV, the reason that I wanted to have you, in this conversation is that a lot of people out there are looking at how to use blockchain. They're talking about it. And one of the things we thought was really important to do is help people understand it. That's why we're going to focus on understanding it, but also coming from somebody who's actually, implementing it, okay, and using it in the industry. And so I want you, those of you that are watching the webinar, to understand today is that the discussions that we're having today are coming from the perspective of this is proven technology at this point. All right. So great. Thanks. I'm looking forward to the next part that we're going to talk about, LV. Thank you.
Right. So while Kiran is bringing up the next slide, I would say the era of 2017 and 2018 has been about proof of concepts. People really trying to understand, is there a use case? Creating something in an IT solution within an organization across departments is a Herculean task, right? Imagine that you have to do it across 5 different enterprises where all the people from different enterprises need to collaborate and then achieve a common output, where every organization has an incentive to do that and to participate in the network. That is the challenge that blockchain throws. So where people have identified excellent use cases on blockchain, that is where it kind of normally fizzles out, and it kind of gets defeated. But that is where we were able to work with some of these wonderful organizations who have the length and breadth in terms of committing resources, and then be able to work beyond the proof of concept. So we work with a couple of automotive majors, and one of the leading logistics service provider, one of the leading cargo airlines, in terms of creating a network and in terms of bringing them together and bringing their participants, their customers, their suppliers into the network to build a collaboration where it had proven output in terms of creating value for the end customers, creating value for the organizations. Right? And we have partnered with SAP, and our real warranty product is a co-innovated product with SAP, which is going to be soon getting into the process of certification with SAP. We are also working very closely with Microsoft in terms of creating the marketplace solutions for our products. Real Reco, one of our products, which is on the demand side, Real Collab, which covers the back-end supply chain and the front-end supply chain, and of course Real Warranty. These are the products that are going to be on the Microsoft marketplace. Of course, Azure and AWS are the platform of our choice, where we are hosting. But again, our solutions are cloud agnostic, so we can use any of the clouds, or we can use on-premise.
So LV, as we continue to go forward and talk about some of these things, are you able to share the names of those customers that you've implemented with at this point?
Not in the public forums like this, Mark. Unfortunately, we are under NDAs. But if there is a specific interest from any organization, we will be able to set up, the one-on-one discussions with these.
Okay,
customers.
but you've done some implementations in the aviation, aerospace industry, and cargo, and it looks like you have a yellow package carrier there. I suppose I can guess who that is. I think I recognize the grill of that global auto OEM there. So I think we probably know who you're working with. Okay, all right, continue. I just wanted to know if you could share that, but.
Let the imagination run wild.
Okay, all right, okay.
Right. And like any other technology, Mark, when blockchain also has started, let us say, I mean, everybody knows about Bitcoin and the conspicuous inventor who created that. But as with any technology, like we have seen in cases of databases as well, right? So there was SQL Server, there is MySQL, there is Oracle. So the same relational databases, which I mean, the same concept, there are different products like that. When blockchain started getting into the hype cycle about 3 years ago, and then when people started looking at, there are a plethora of blockchain based products that have come into the market. But then, like any other technology, the sustenance of the product is important, the sustainability is important. So Hyperledger Fabric is by far evaluated as probably one of the best enterprise grade blockchain products, which also addresses some of the concerns from the CISOs, the information security organizations or officers in the organizations, because we are talking about enterprises talking to each other. Data is important, event is important, but at the same time, you also have to protect, what is getting shared with who, why, right? Similarly, Ethereum, which many of us know as one of the leading public chains, with the token of ETH that is running behind it, but they are also coming up with the enterprise version of it. So Ethereum Enterprise Alliance is working in terms of creating something like that. Quorum is created by JP Morgan Chase. Again, a wonderful product which is built on the Ethereum platform. It has very good features like private contracts and then sharing of information, sharing of event. So these are some of the three that where people have really seen on the supply chain side. I mean, there are others which are like Corda, Ripple, and few others which are used in the financial services, but we are not going there, right? So our focus is here. And of course, multi-chain, we love it because for starters in blockchain, multi-chain is the easiest to understand, and also it does not have the complexity of smart contracts. It's a pure play digital distributed ledger. So we loved multi-chain when we started it. We learned a lot from it, and then we moved forward. So this is the understanding that I would like to provide about our customers, our blockchain compatibility, and then how we are working with our partners.
Yeah, that's important to note. So LD, what I'm getting from this is that you have business problems that major companies out there have had, and you've implemented long in use technology as part of the solution, and introduced the latest technology in blockchain, and put those three things together to solve the problems we're going to talk about.
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to hearing about the what and why part.
Yes. So let's quickly move to the next one, Kiran. So the top four that you see on the screen, the 2x4 blocker, right? The top four, they are the constructs of blockchain, right? Global distributed ledger. They shared across the information or the ledger being shared across the business network. The transactions are secured using cryptography, and then the decentralized architecture to be able to have the decentralized decisions, so that the network governance is actually decentralized, but it is not shared with one single party, even if it is a consortium led by somebody, right? So the constructs of the blockchain are very, very important, and the bottom four that you see, you could call them features or benefits. If I look at it as a technologist, I see them as features. If I look at them as a business person, I see them as benefits. Like the controlled access of information, the business rule validation. So far, all of us understand, right? So if there are two organizations talking to each other, there is a business rule that is written on the source. There is a business rule that is written on the destination, assuming both the business rules are same, right? But then as organizations evolve, these business rules change, where party A or the source is not in control of the business rule on the party B. So we end up in reconciliation after reconciliation because somebody introduced some change which the other organization is not aware. But when it comes to blockchain, the business rule actually sits on the network, which means that with the advent of the new technologies that have come in the last 1 year, even on the blockchain flavors, if there is a change in business rule, the parties involved has to accept that, which means that everybody is aware. So you're effectively cutting down the disruptions in business because of the reconciliation issues or the provisions that you have to make because some data is not matching. Imagine if it is happening across 100 different players, with one customer or one supplier, then you can see the magnitude of the issue. And as I said, the immutability of records, the digital trust, that is very, very, very important because of the nature of the distributed ledger. Any person trying to change or mask any information on their ledger, the rest of the network rejects it. So if at all somebody has to make any change, the change has to happen at the exact time across all the ledgers. Computationally it is difficult, and some people claim that it can be broken with quantum computing coming in, but then we will see when we get there. But at this point of time, immutability is offered as part of either a private network or a public network, and that is something which is crucial. Privacy and confidentiality, the most important aspect for businesses, is again something which blockchain can provide.
Yeah, very good. Well, LV, just if I could just quickly, as a summary of what you've said here, what's interesting to me about this chart that Kieran, that you put together is that you said it across the top. You said these are the constructs of blockchain. Okay, so if I look at this, if you're listening out there today, and if you want to get a good summary, this slide is a good summary. Do a screenshot of it. Pay attention. Okay, is that right across the top, what is blockchain? All right, we have this global distributed ledger. So now we have the ability to take ledger or transactions and they're distributed globally. All right, we're saying they're shared across the business network. All right, so it's not just within the enterprise, but now it's across all the consumers or users of this information more broadly outside the enterprise. It's secure, it's cryptographic transactions, and it's got a decentralized architecture to be able to optimize it. If you were to look at the constructs of blockchain across the top, that's it. And as LV said, across the bottom, the features and benefits that we have the features and benefits of that across the bottom, which is another interesting perspective because from a technical perspective, he said that the features are, controlled access, we can model business rules easily, it's unchangeable or immutable, and it's secure, right? From a business rules perspective, these are the benefits that we get. So LV, I really appreciate this slide and your description of it, because if I were sitting here trying to understand blockchain, for some reason that resonates with me, and this is something I would use as sort of a tool to communicate to people what is blockchain and why should it be used. So good, thank you very much. I really appreciate this slide, Kieran, and this description, LV. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, Kieran, let's move to the next one.
Yeah. So thanks, Mark. Thanks, LV, for giving the nice introduction about blockchain and the company in general. So I will talk about the digital twin. That is the first use case which I want to discuss today. So digital twin. So let us first understand what is digital twin. So by digital twin, I mean that it is a digital collection of a physical object. So whatever is there in a physical object, you will have parts, you will have serial numbers. Let's take a component or an aircraft. So all that information, if that is made available in a digital format, that is what is called a digital twin. Now, why is digital twin really gaining traction across several industries? So let's take an example of automotive industry. So we have something called VIN number, that is a vehicle identification number over there. So similarly in aviation, we have parts and aircraft. The very first reason is there are around 3 to 5 million parts in an aircraft. So we can understand the amount of complexities which an aircraft has as a working object. So we do understand that in today's world, engines, APUs, and landing gears are tracked to a great extent. But what about the airframe components? The traceability of airframe components is quite limited, and that is where the challenge comes up as far as understanding, where that part came from, what is the maintenance history, where it got manufactured, who was the supplier who supplied that part. So all this information is something which is very key for an airline or an operator, and it also becomes very important from a compliance standpoint. So that takes me to the second pain point, that is lack of back-to-birth traceability. So back-to-birth traceability is very crucial because we are talking about parts which are having a lifespan of around 10 to 15 and in some cases 20 years. So it is very important to understand how this part has moved across in the timeline, which airline was using the part, whether all the maintenance activity was done on time, which organization did the maintenance activity, and whether the right certifications were being held by the technicians who were doing that maintenance activity. So all this information becomes very crucial as the part moves in the value chain or in the timeline, as the part gets older. So this is the second point which we understand why, this is the second reason why digital twin is really a requirement today in the industry. The third point which we want to talk about is the disparate systems itself. So today you have organizations with excellent MRO systems and M&E systems, and they are doing their job very well. So as far as maintenance and the entire operations within the organizations is concerned, today's ERP system are are quite capable enough of doing the operations. But when it comes to sharing the information to the value chain as a participant, so you have an MRO organization which is trying to share information to airline, and there might be requirement that the OEM may want to see some information of the part. Then there will be information which will be required by the lessors who are actually leasing the aircraft. When it comes to sharing the information between these various entities, today's technologies are quite limited in that form that they either have to do a point-to-point EDI integration or they have to expose the database itself. And exposing the database is something which is not a very good idea because that will expose all the trade secrets as well. So that is where something like a blockchain technology and a platform comes in picture, wherein the information, whatever you want to share on the blockchain platform, can be shared in an immutable way, and only the party which requires to see that information can have access to that information. And as the part moves out of the ecosystem, the information stays along with the part. That is the most important thing. So today the challenge is the information is staying or residing in the respective organizations, which is not technically tagged to the part. So once the part moves out of the value chain, the information is lost. So that is where something like a blockchain technology really helps in ensuring that the information stays or gets tagged along with the part.
So Kiran, I wanted to remind our viewers out there today that if you have questions, during this webinar, and also, I am able to monitor some of the questions that are coming in on LinkedIn and some other places. You can type your questions in the comments and we're happy to answer them. But I know a common question that people might have, Kiran, that I wanted to ask you real quick is that that in the aviation industry, we have a very comprehensive ability to be able to build up parts in MRO systems. And so, in essence, we have a higher assembly kind of a concept where we keep track of parts that build up into higher assemblies and make up an entire airplane. Can you clarify for people watching today, what's the difference between having an MRO system that has a buildup of parts and the concept of having an entire digital twin? What's the difference between the two?
Yeah. So Mark, digital twin is something which is definitely an extension of the information which is already residing on the in the MRO or IT systems. So what digital twin actually brings to the table is the information collected from various sources, and it is actually getting it is getting built up on the blockchain, which is fetching information from different systems. So yes, to a certain extent, the organizations which are having the part and the part configuration details are going to have the information, that information is anyway valuable. But then what blockchain as a technology platform can do is it can try to bring in the information which is not available from the underlying system. So information which is residing, say, let's say from an operator, or let's say from an OEM standpoint, or let's say the part itself was not in this particular ecosystem. So what was the history of the part, where it traveled, what was the maintenance activity performed? Those are the information which is what blockchain as a technology tries to get in, and that is what we are trying to do as part of digital twin activity, to collect the information of a part from various different sources and systems.
Okay, excellent. And LV, you talked about it being immutable before. So I guess if you have information that's secure and it's distributed and it can't be changed, okay, then it becomes a valuable record or a history of transactions making up that digital twin. Is that an accurate characterization?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then also imagine, like, digital twin is not just about the characteristic of the parts or characteristic of, like, the components that make the assemblies in the high assemblies. It's about the digital journey of a physical product. So, that's where, the back to birth and, all of these things, becomes very, very key and important.
Okay, excellent. That makes perfect sense. Great, good. Hey, listen, for those of you watching out there, I just want to let you know that we do see your comments and questions. I see we have people here that have joined us from Denmark and people that have joined us from India and from the US, Georgia, Canada, Brazil, the UK, Germany, India, and from Turkey. We really literally have people watching this broadcast all over the world. I can see that in LinkedIn. If you want to give me a comment and tell me where you are, that would be awesome. I can see where you're coming from, but also we want to answer your questions. If you have any live questions, it'd be great if you could, put those questions either in the box in the Zoom webinar or on LinkedIn. So I don't want to mess up your groove here. Kiran, let's keep going as you're talking about digital twins and the value of that. Thank you.
Right. So that was what I was talking about, the parts. Now coming to the aircraft itself, we see that 90% of the aircraft records today are mostly paper-based, or they are in the form of paper-based documents. And when it comes to aircraft redelivery, or when it comes to doing audit and understanding the aircraft health, it becomes quite a challenge for both the operators, MROs, and also the lessors themselves, to get this entire activity done. And a lot of time, effort, and money is spent in doing this activity. So if this information were to be made available in a form of digital twin, and that information, if we were to be on a blockchain platform, which brings in the underlying capability of immutability, then a lot of such information and a lot of such time, money, and effort required to recertify or evaluate the current condition of the aircraft would be reduced to a greater extent. That is what we believe is the true potential of digital twin coupled with blockchain as a technology.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So these are some of the pain points which we believe is really important from a digital twin from both parts and aircraft perspective. Now let us look at the solution. So what is it that blockchain as a technology can bring to the table, and what is it that we can bring to the table as a blockchain product company? So what we have here is the Real Collab solution. So Real Collab is basically the solution which connects the part manufacturers to the OEM. So it is the supply side of the ecosystem from the OEM to the nth tier supplier. So we can go tier 1, tier 2, and we can also go up to the nth tier, depending upon how much of a traceability the OEM really wants from a supply chain collaboration standpoint. So what you see here is we have given an example of tier 2 to tier 1 and tier 1 to OEM. So the part, when it moves from tier 2 to tier 1, a part or a sub-assembly or a component, the purchase order information, advanced shipment notification information, goods receipt, and the inspection information gets captured in an immutable way on blockchain platform. And this information gets rolled up into the higher tier suppliers. Similarly, the other tier 2 suppliers will also keep supplying the parts to the tier 1 suppliers, from where these parts will get manufactured into sub-assemblies or semi-finished goods, semi-finished parts, and then finally these parts get into the OEM, where the final finished product or finished component is actually manufactured. So this way you not only have the information of the orders, that is the purchase orders, and as an OEM, you need to have a full clarity and full track of whether you are going to fulfill your supplier customers obligation as far as delivery of parts is concerned on the sales side, and you need to also ensure that your suppliers are going to supply you the parts and the sub assemblies at the right point of time. So this particular solution gives the traceability to the OEM to the nth tier supplier. So let's say there is a PO which is placed between OEM and tier 1, and the tier 1 interns places POs between between tier 1 and tier 2. So all this information can be aggregated into a single view through this solution. And as a OEM, as a decision maker in the OEM on the supply chain side, I can have the full visibility of whether the part is on track, whether the part has been delivered to the tier 2 part has been delivered to tier 1, or whether there is still any open item left. And I can also make a good understanding of whether I will be able, as an OEM, whether I will be able to deliver my whether I'll be able to deliver my components to the customer.
Okay,
So
Kieran, let
this
me
is
ask you a
what
question.
the
Kieran.
yeah.
Yeah, so Kieran, I have a question. I want to make sure I understand this. So the big difference here is what you're saying is that by the utilization of blockchain technology and platforms, we're able to expand this visibility and collaboration of this entire supply chain from what would normally be contained within an enterprise to the entire supply chain. Is that what you're saying? So if I were to take all those things and in my little simple mind, I'd say, what's the benefit of doing this? All right. Is that by putting this on the blockchain and on the blockchain platform, you now have the ability to expand the supply chain collaboration way beyond where it is today. That's the bottom line, right?
Right. So as LV pointed out, Mark, the current enterprise ERP systems, MRO systems have the visibility up to tier 1 circle. So the maximum I can get from my ERP system is to see what my tier 1 suppliers are doing. So, but this kind of solution will give you the visibility to the nth tier supplier. That is the
Hey,
basic.
listen, Kieran, I have a couple of really important questions that have come in from LinkedIn, and I want to address them. Okay. First of all, I wanted to welcome the people that have come from Oman and from the UAE and from Brazil and Dubai, and we've had people coming in all over the place. It's really great to see all of you out there. Thank you for joining today. But listen, there's two questions I want to address. They're in two different directions, but I think they're important to address people's questions because you need to know what people are thinking, and your message you're trying to give, people are asking some questions. So I want to throw them out there. Right? The first one I'd like to ask you guys to answer is that it comes from Joseph Fujini is what it looks like is how you pronounce his last name. He says, regarding aircraft records, can current paper records be converted into a digital twin? So how would you go from paper records into managing a record system using digital twins? Is that possible?
Yeah, as long as the paper records are typed records, there are solutions that are out there like character recognition solutions, which can extract the data, interpret the data, and then formulate the information into the set of information the way that we would need, and then create the digital twin out of it. Very much possible.
Yeah. Now, LV, just maybe as a quick comment, I know a company out there, and I'll give a shout out to him because he's a friend of mine with Provin Air. It's Jim Baccarosa. So Jim, if you get any business out of this, I want you to come back to me. Okay. Anyway, but what they have is they have a back to birth traceability, records product. Okay. And I've told him that he needs to marry that together with a blockchain provider to provide this kind of collaboration with that record system. And if I were answering a guy like Joseph out there, my answer to you would be, hey, listen, you need to marry these two things together to provide the answer, to really what you're looking for. Okay. So let me go to the next question. All right. So the next one I had, which I thought was really insightful here, is people always ask this: has this been implemented by any OEM? All right. LV, are there any OEMs that have actually implemented this technology today?
Couple of automotive OEMs, yes, definitely. They have implemented this technology. And from an aviation perspective, we are making very good inroads. We have been speaking to some other colleagues. And
what about that yellow package carrier I saw there?
Yeah, of course, they did as well. I mean, so from we talk about OEM, so package carrier is a carrier. They're not
okay.
OEM.
All right, but the OEMs though is that automotive manufacturer, two very large automotive manufacturers I know that you've successfully implemented with, and with some other aviation aerospace companies. And so the answer is that it really is proven technology that exists. And then a couple more questions that I'll throw out there in the middle of this is that here's a great question for you guys: is that who controls the material that's put on a blockchain? Who is in charge of material that's put on a blockchain information?
Good, very good question, right? So that is where there are public blockchains, there are private blockchains. Public blockchains, nobody controls the information. That is the reason enterprises are looking at private blockchains as the way to go, wherein they create a consortium, they create a governance structure, And this governance structure decides how the data is put on, what kind of information can be put on. Do they have does the network need to be compliant with GDPR, PII, and all of these things? So yes, it's always the consortium that decides in terms of what, how, and then future of it. Yeah.
Okay, well then also the fact that you have encryption, you have security, the fact that you've pointed out to us multiple times that it's immutable or not changeable, all of those things make that distributed information, controlled, at that point, right?
Absolutely, right. In my experience, when we first started working with this automotive company for the aftermarket spares, right? The automotive company took the pole position, but then they involved 3 different logistics players. A 4th player has come in later. They involved airlines in it. They involved ocean carriers in it, and then they brought in this, and then they explained to them why it is important to them. Why it has to be. They need to work as a network. And then, the network governance structure has been put in place. Even those organizations have contributed in terms of, how the information can be shared, how the information can be viewed. The end result is somebody sitting in Australia lost a car key. The dealer will be able to tell them exactly, when they get the car key, so people don't lose sleep over in terms of following up. I'll quickly talk about it, in the next slide probably.
Okay, all right. Well, let's keep going. But I know I've kind of messed up the flow of your presentation, guys. But it's really super important to listen to what people are asking, out there, and to hear what people are saying, because those are the questions people have. And when people watch a webinar or a broadcast like this, I think it's really important to be able to answer those questions. So, guys, keep going. And those of you out there, if you have other questions, put them up there, and I'll try to interrupt these guys and get some more questions answered. So go ahead, guys, keep going.
Sure, Mark, sure, absolutely. So let me just show you a snippet or a sneak peek of the product which I just talked about, that is supply chain collaboration. So what I have here is a SaaS-based product. It is completely accessible through a web link. There is no need for any installation of any software. So this is the supply chain collaboration product, and I have logged in as an administrator here. What you see here is a dealer. Basically, I have logged in as an OEM, and what you see is a dealer is basically my customer. So it can be a part reseller or it can be an operator itself. So I have put the information, and I have put the purchase order information of the purchase order which I would get as a OEM from my customer. So this is the purchase order information. Now, if I were to click on this purchase order, there is I would get the next level of information, that is the manufacturer PO. So as a organization, I would be placing an internal order for this particular purchase order to my internal manufacturing organization. Then this particular PO would again get split into multiple purchase orders in the supply side. So what you have here is basically the contract manufacturer PO, and also the PO which is raised, the contract manufacturer PO which is raised against supplier 1 and supplier 2. So what you see here is these two belong to the OEM, and what you see here is basically the tier 1 suppliers. So this way we can go further and build this entire hierarchy to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers as well. And if I were to just check what this content of this PO is, so if I click on this open, I get to see the item name, the shipment details, the need by date, the ASN, that is advanced shipment status, and whether the part has been delivered to me or not. So this way I can build the entire hierarchy of the orders, what needs to go to my tier 3 or tier 2 suppliers and tier 1 suppliers, and when am I going to get my part from these tier 1 suppliers, so that I can make sure that my delivery is on time and I am not delaying on my commitment to my customers as an OEM.
So Kiran, secure collaboration amongst a broader population of people. That's the message you're telling me right now, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what we understand, Mark, is the supplier community in aviation is very, very distributed. So you have tier 3 and tier 4 suppliers, which may probably be a mom and pop shop operating out of one single location with fewer employees, manufacturing some niche items. So today, as a OEM, there is probably not much of a visibility which the OEM gets, as far as their tier 3 and tier 4 supplier is concerned. So as an OEM, this kind of product will give you the end-to-end traceability, and this in turn builds the digital twin of a part or an aircraft, from the supplier side of it.
Okay, perfect. Hey, listen, I have another question I want to throw out there because I think you guys should probably think about this. Is that the question comes from Narayan Rao, and it says, "What are the various roadblocks you face when you approach the aviation industry?" So, as you're implementing blockchain within aviation, what are the challenges that are preventing you from being successful in that space?
So, Mark, one of the major challenges which we understand from aviation standpoint is the lack of governance. So, we don't have a governance standards established yet, whereas the other industries, they have a governance standards. They are pretty much far ahead as far as blockchain adoption is concerned. Be it fintech industry, be it automotive industry, there is some kind of governance structure. There is some kind of minimum understanding of what information can be put onto a blockchain, what information can be shared publicly, and what information do the participants themselves think that it is not a competitor, it is not a competitive information. So that kind of framework is something which we believe is a little bit missing in the aviation industry today. But I'm sure that as the time progresses, aviation has to come on blockchain sooner rather than later. And the time is pretty much ripe with blockchain and all the cryptos going at all-time high again. So the adoption of blockchain and with the COVID hitting the industry, I think the digital transformation adoption will be will be happening at a much faster rate as per our understanding.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So if I move further, this is the understanding what we have once the part is actually moved from an OEM and it goes into the operations. So you have your resellers, you have your operators, you have your MROs. So the information part keeps moving between all these players, and the information, if it gets recorded onto a digital platform, that information becomes highly valuable whenever the part is up for sale or up for exchange or up for moving out of the network altogether, where this information can sit along as a tag.
Okay. Hey, listen, I wanted to ask another question. I haven't had that many questions come from the Zoom platform, and I want to make sure that I pay attention to those people as well. But I have a question that's popped up here right now, and it basically says, is that would there be certain restrictions for suppliers with regards to sharing confidential information? Okay, so how do you handle the sharing of confidential information on a blockchain?
Yes, so we spoke about the control access as a feature on the blockchain, right? So who can see what, and with the advent of the improvement that has happened on some of the technologies like Fabric and Ethereum and Quorum, there are ways and means in which the data can be shared privately between different participants. So to answer that question, one, the governance mechanism of the network decides what gets published, who can see what. And if there is an organization which does not want to follow that, then it is up to the business discussion in the consortium. The technology is foolproof in terms of accepting and implementing what the business decides.
Okay, great. Thank you for answering that question. Okay, back to you, Karen.
Yeah.
Right.
LV, you want to take this slide?
Oh yeah, sure. So I just want to say that we were talking about this particular scenario wherein somebody loses a car key in Australia, right? So the keys are electronic keys, and they need to be, let us say, coded in some offshore facility, and they have to be shipped into Australia. So how does it work without the blockchain solution? The end customer, the car owner, calls up the dealer. Dealer has their own dealer management, or which is provided by the automotive company. They log the issue there. Then somebody from the automotive company will have to make the key, hand it over to the logistic service provider. Logistic service provider puts a lot of such stuff, lot of packages from that particular automotive provider and from the offshore facility, creates a pallet out of it, creates a packet out of it. Then you don't know what is in this packet, and then it moves through the export chain. So to be able to track where my key is, the dealer has to call the offshore key maker, the automotive company where the keys are coded, and these guys will have to call the logistics company, or they need to maintain the list of the arrival numbers, or the tracking numbers to be able to follow through this. So imagine the kind of manual effort and the cost that is involved in terms of tracking this. And this is, we are talking about one coded key, right? Now expand it to the number of coded keys, the number of other parts that goes through some of these critical shipments. So we have seen across organizations about a $2 to $2.5 million of cost savings by implementing this solution, which otherwise would have been at least 2.5 times more in terms of making the entire product testability work with the current solutions. So that is where we talk about our experience very emphatically in terms of 30 to 50% reduced cost through the multi-party collaboration. Another interesting scenario in the same frame of this one, I would say a cyclone happens in an airport, and then the system automatically tells the recipient dealers that hey, there is a cyclone that has happened here, because of which these are the exact products which are supposed to be shipped today are not getting shipped. And the system will tell you when the new booking happens for this particular shipment, we will let you know when it bears flight, right? We have done it, we have seen it.
Great, good. I see how that can be a big advantage using the blockchain, doing that. Hey, guys, I know there's been so many questions that I know that we're encroaching on the time that you had planned, to do this entire full presentation. But I just have to tell you that in the past, my experience has been is that by engaging people and answering their questions, it makes a bigger impact in the long run. And I have a few more questions which I want to throw up there. And it may mean that we'll have to, do some follow-up with some of the use cases and things like that. But I think it's good if we answer people's questions. Okay. So another question that's come up is that people are asking about, okay, back to birth traceability, track and trace is really super important, okay, on parts. But the question is that how do you manage that between serialized and non-serialized parts? Or does it even matter? I mean, what's your concept of, is it a part is a part is a part, or how does it matter if a part is a serialized part, a roadable, a expendable, a repairable, serialized, non-serialized? How does that fit into this whole concept of using a blockchain?
A serialized part is a no-brainer, Mark. Serialized part is a serialized part. We can easily track it on the blockchain. We have seen the non-serialized part. So we have come up with a solution in terms of, if I talk about it, we'll be giving 5% of our IP in this discussion, but let me talk about it, right? So that's fine. The part is not serialized, but there are ways in terms of identifying it in terms of the specific characteristic of those parts, where it was manufactured, when it was manufactured, what is the nomenclature of the part, what is the identification of the part, is it part of a batch that you could identify, right? So by having these characteristics associated, with this set of parts which are non-serialized, we would still be able to, bring in, the efficiency and, the ability to create a pseudo serialization. That's what we would call, and then, be able to bring them on the blockchain. And there are organizations like, there are GS1 standards that are there. Pharma industry, adopted it very beautifully, and there are other industries that are also following. So they also have, the specific, and I think it's a 9 combination of 9 different characteristics, including the general location number, or GLN. That's what they call, if I remember correctly. So there are many ways of doing that, Mark.
Okay, that's great. Hey, the next question I wanted to jump to was someone on the Zoom platform here asked again is that if you're looking at transactions that are occurring, and I summarized it, but the person's question said, if you're looking at a maintenance history on an airplane, okay, and I, in my mind, just said, okay, I'm looking at transactions that are occurring, all right, is that how can blockchain help to manage a history on maintenance transactions, okay, the events that were occurring against a particular part or an aircraft, and then when you move that from one operator to the next, how can blockchain and blockchain platforms make that a better environment?
Very good question.
Right, Mark.
So,
yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So Mark, to answer the question, what blockchain is doing as a technology platform is it can help aggregate all this information from the underlying systems. So you have your, basically you will have your entire timeline history built. That is, in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, where all the part has moved, which airlines has used those parts, and which maintenance agencies, MRO operators or MRO organizations have done the maintenance activity on the part. So it is kind of, it becomes a kind of a digital tag, the tag which carries the information, and that information resides with the part and not only with the organizations where these activities were done.
Right. So imagine a situation wherein, like, we can create a trust entity wherein, we say, okay, at this particular operator, whatever daily activities that you are doing it, provide it to us. We will keep a record of it. When it moves to the next level, we can share this record, at a next cost. So that is where, there is a centralized authority providing trust. Where blockchain is coming in is, creating a digital trust. Whatever activity is happening, whatever event is happening, you push it there. And if the other operator joins the network, boom, they have, all the information, when they're taking care of the part.
Excellent. Okay, very good. Hey, you talked about there needing to be a governance component of this in every industry, and I appreciate you guys bringing that up. One of the questions that came up earlier that I am going back to is that the person just made a comment that said, I can't envision that these things will be deployed or be successful without active engagement with the FAA and EASA. My response to that is, absolutely. And I've worked with the FAA and EASA for 40 years of my life, at this point in time. And what they're looking for is they're looking for safe, secure environments for operating airplanes. And they're looking for ways to improve that. And digital data has accelerated dramatically in its acceptance with the FAA and with the EASA because they see the value in using secure platforms that provide broader bases of collaborative information, okay? And that actually is a better environment than we've ever had in the past. And so we do not have a problem with regulators not accepting things. They just want to understand things. They want to understand how it's providing better environments than what we've had in the past. And the bottom line is we work with them and we achieve that by working together collaboratively is the question. Hey, Kieran, listen, we have had just really a fantastic discussion, and I know you had so much more information left in your presentation. I want to give you an opportunity to sort of wrap things up a little bit. I know we don't have time to go over the warranty management case, but I've had people that have said, how can we get more information? Where do we go from here? A lot of interested parties in this subject. We knew it would be, all right? And so what we'll do is we'll provide some follow-on webinars on a more private, kind of a basis, on a one-on-one kind of a basis. And so people asked, well, how do I get a hold of you? But before I get to that, we definitely have a way to get in touch with you. I want to give you a chance to maybe provide some wrap up because I know we really cut off a lot of your presentation. So Kieran, right. What else can you provide people that'll be a transition into our next discussion with them? Because there's so much interest. We've had so many people from all around the world wanting to talk about this that we want to follow up. We're going to follow up. I like to take hot topics and provide additional information. So we will provide more information. But Kieran, I want to give you a chance to kind of wrap things up a little bit.
Yeah. So let me just give a brief about what we were planning to discuss on the warranty management. So warranty is a very, very hot topic, and we see a lot of issues with warranty across organizations, be it from operators to MROs to OEMs, and from OEMs to their suppliers back. So what we have done is, as a part of co-innovation product with SAP, is that we have come up with a solution which can be a kind of a game changer for the OEMs and the large suppliers to recover warranty from their counterparts. So what we saw in the first part was the supply chain collaboration, where the part history and the order history is being built. The warranty information basically is like a complementary solution, wherein the warranty information also gets tagged along with the part, which moves in the forward value chain. And whenever there is a warranty claim which is raised by the operator due to part removal at the operator side, our product can actually identify whether the part is covered under warranty or not, and based on that, it will actually trigger the warranty implications to the right tier supplier. And with this product, complex warranty agreements can also be captured in a digital format through smart contracts. So we understand that the current ERP MRO systems might have certain capabilities or certain provisions to capture warranty. So we can always take that information into the blockchain, and we can also bring in more complex conditions, complex warranty conditions, terms and conditions, which will not otherwise be possible to capture in the underlying ERP or MRO systems. So this together packaged with the blockchain as a technology becomes a immutable way or a trustworthy way of propagating warranty in the value chain. And this in turn leads to reduced litigation incidents between the various parties in the value chain itself. So this is what I wanted to summarize as far as warranty is concerned. Mark, if you allow me, I will just show the home screen as to how this product really looks like. So what you, if you can see my screen, there are 4 major tabs here. That is inbound, outbound, bill of material, and also the warranty claim. So there is, we can have the entire information captured in the forward movement with respect to inbound and outbound, and the bill of material will capture the relevant information of the part configuration and what is in the, you know, the subcomponents within the part, and the entire warranty information will be available in the form of proof of delivery, proof of part usage, and also the warranty conditions, establishing warranty conditions. So in the interest of time, we can always look at this product in detail on a one-on-one session with interested parties. So this is where I would like to close the warranty.
That's really good. And you know, we've consumed the amount of time that we wanted to cover, you know, today, not nearly the material. And I've had so many people here saying, can you give us another presentation? Can we have more? You know, and so, you know, I'll talk to the guys and see if we can do another public presentation, but we definitely are planning on following up with people to give private, you know, presentations. So Kieran, if you would just move to one of the last slides, I want to let people know, you know, where we go from here, you know, at this point. There's just a lot of information which could be communicated to people about this, but let me just say this, is that Real Variable is a company who's implementing blockchain for real, all right? And it's been successful and it's been proven already at this point. And I've worked with a lot of companies that are thinking about it. How could we use it? What could we do? And the difference is that Real Variable has implemented it, all right? Real Variable is committing that if you would like to have a one-on-one conversation or a discussion of your environment and how blockchain platforms may be able to be provided in your environment, they're offering to give you a free consultation on that. And I'll tell you how to get that. If you want to know more about leveraging blockchain technology, you can reach out to us. What I've done is I've created a website. First of all, some of you that registered for this webinar, you went to blockchain.digitalaircraft.org and you registered for that website. Once the webinar went live, it now switches over to a place where you can do 2 things. Listen carefully, 2 things. You can ask for more information and you can get this presentation sent to you automatically. If you go to that website right now, if you go to blockchain.digitalaircraft.org and just put in your email address, it will instantly send you a copy of the presentation, okay? In addition, we'll have your contact information. I'll have Kieran and LV reach out to you and initiate further conversation, answer other questions. I personally am going to go through the LinkedIn questions and make sure that every question is being answered. Kieran is really good about doing that. We'll answer all the questions online, but the best thing that you can do is request a copy of this webinar slide presentation today and just have a follow-up conversation. If you want more information, that's really the best way to do it. So I wanted to encourage you to do that. Guys, I've had so much interest from people here today. You can tell it's an interesting, hot topic. You know, people all around the world have been asking questions. I've only been able to answer half of them. So clearly we have to continue this conversation and people want to hear more about what you guys are talking about. Clearly that's the case.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for summarizing this. Our experience truly has been in terms of, you know, looking at the top 3 use cases, what makes sense and, you know, what doesn't make sense. And then, you know, what is the incentive for the participants? You know, that is also the advantage that, you know, we bring to the table with our you know, team. You know, our CEO comes from a wonderful business background. You know, Ram, our COO, comes from, you know, legacy systems and SAP implementation. So we have the whole package, you know, in terms of looking at, you know, what works and what doesn't work. So we'll be happy to engage with, you know, interested folks. And then, you know, how we can start from the top.
Excellent. Excellent. Kieran, thank you for your insightful knowledge on application of blockchain, you know, into aviation. That was also very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks everybody for joining the webinar
Good.
today. Appreciate
So
it.
those of you that signed up for the webinar, we have your contact information. I'll send you information about future, webinars that we have on blockchain. Also, I have the ability to be able to keep an event open on LinkedIn. And what I'll do is I will also continue to provide additional information on the LinkedIn event on what we're going to do with future webinars or things that we're going to do. But right now, don't wait to go right there to blockchain.digitalaircraft.org. It's right there on the screen, and get a free copy of this presentation. And let's continue this conversation. Listen, everybody, thanks so much for participating in this really exciting topic. And I appreciate everybody and all that you do to show interest in our efforts to recover in aviation. And I want to thank you and tell everybody I sign off all my broadcasts with fair winds and following seas to you, and tell you all to just have a great day. And thank you for your interest in the things that we're doing. Bye, guys. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, LV.
Thank you.